Hey there, welcome back to another video. Just like last time, my name is Nick. Got my notes right here like always, and today we are talking about the UFL. That's right, spring football. Their season is about a month away from starting, so just around the corner. And this morning they dropped a bunch of rule changes for this upcoming 2026 season. So I got the list right here. We're just going to talk about it because I think some of these are pretty interesting and I like what they're doing with football. Starting out with rule number one, field goals made from 60 plus yards are going to be worth 4 points this year in the UFL. I like this rule. I like the fact that games are never really that far out of reach in the UFL. This is also going to add some special team strategy to the way teams are calling, because if you're within that 60-yard range, are you going to punt and give the other team the ball, or are you going to put your kicker out there to see if he can make that 60-plus yard field goal? A lot of kickers coming out of the UFL into the NFL seem to have pretty decent legs. I know this season, personally, for me in fantasy football, I had Brandon Aubrey on one team from the Dallas Cowboys and Jake Bates on another team from the Detroit Lions, both UFL, XFL, USFL guys. Um, but they're both hitting 60 plus yards on a regular basis. So I think this is going to be a fun and new rule. We'll see how often teams actually try to utilize that to get that extra point on a field goal. Rule change number two, for completions, they are going to the NCAA rule, which is you only have to have 1 foot in bounds for it to be a completion. I think this is okay. I think the UFL is more comparable to college as far as the skill level that is being played of the football. So I don't mind this as much. I think it'll definitely change touchdowns and completions because you're only having to worry about getting 1 foot in instead of two like they do in the NFL. I don't think that's going to be that big of a difference for the UFL though. Rule change number three, red zone penalties will be half the distance to the goal, which is the same as the current NFL rule. I don't mind that. Change number four, I'm personally okay with this one. No tush push. They have eliminated the tush push. Personally, I don't remember that play being run that often last season in the UFL, but it seems fair that if the defense cannot push each other into the pile to stop a player from gaining yards, why can the offense push a player into the pile to gain yards? Personally, I think this might be more from the officiating standpoint because I've seen those replays in the NFL where it's literally everybody just smashing together, and then you can't really tell if they gained enough yards to get the first down or to get whatever they're trying to get to. I think it's more of a headache from an officiating standpoint. Personally, I don't mind there not being a tush push. Rule change number five, there will be no punting once the ball crosses the 50-yard line. So, say you're marching downfield and you get onto the other team's 49-yard line, you are now no longer allowed to punt on this drive. And it does not matter if you end up getting a sack or a tackle for a loss or a penalty that pushes you back over the 50-yard line onto your side of the field. You are now no longer allowed to punt. I think this is going to be interesting. It's really going to, well, I don't know if you're making it past the 50-yard line. I'm not sure who's punting anyway, but you cannot punt once you cross the 50-yard line. I like it. I think it's going to be, again, interesting to see how this rule plays into the game now. Overtime is rule number six. Each team will get 3 attempts to convert in overtime from the 5-yard line. If it is still tied after each team gets their 3 attempts, it will be alternating conversions until there is a winner decided. I'm pretty sure this is relatively close to the college overtime. I don't remember exactly where they start from, but I think that's pretty similar to college overtime rules. So I'm okay with that. Again, UFL is pretty comparable to college, I think. Seven is kickoffs. They're going back to the NFL style kickoff where the kicker is the only player back. The other players are lined up on believe it's the 40-yard line of the receiving team, and there's the landing zone that the ball has to land in. So the ball has to land from within the 20-yard line to the goal line. If the ball goes out of bounds, it is immediately placed on the receiving team's 40-yard line. For touchbacks, there's two different types of touchbacks. If the ball lands in the landing zone between the 20-yard line and the goal line and then goes into the end zone, then the touchback will go out to the 20-yard line. If the ball goes directly into the end zone without landing in that landing zone, the ball goes out to the 40-yard line. I think that's, like I said, I think a lot of these rules are pretty interesting. I'm really excited to see how these affect the game. And rule number 8, they have changed their conversions. So they've always had the tiered system, 1 point, 2 point, 3 point conversions, and they were all offensive plays. So a 1 point conversion last season was an offensive play from the 2 yard line. A 2 point conversion was an offensive play from the 5 yard line, and a 3 point conversion was an offensive play from the 10 yard line. This year, a 1 point conversion will be a 33-yard field goal attempt. I think this makes the point after a bit more wild cardish, because who knows how the wind's acting that day if you're going to want to try to kick a 33-yard field goal for 1 point. You're almost forcing teams to try for the 2 point conversion, which again, just like when I was talking about the new field goal rule, it means games aren't going to be that far out of hand. If you're going for two, you might get it. You might be up 2 points, or you might be down 2 points, depending on how you can convert. 2 point conversions will now be an offensive play from the 2 yard line instead of the 5 yard line like they were last year. And 3 point conversions will be an offensive play from the 8 yard line instead of the 10 yard line like they were last year. So I'm really excited to see these rules in effect. I think the first game is on March 27th. I'm really excited for spring football. I always look forward to it. And now we got some new rules. So if you made it this far, you might as well hit that subscribe button. Just like always, if you do that, you're going to start helping me fund my hat addiction. And that means you'll get to see your favorite team's hat on my head the next time I do a video on them. But until then, bye-bye.